What are some things you realize would happen if there was actually a zombie outbreak? A lot of people zombie bites, but even more would die from diseases only treatable with antibiotics, insulin, and chemotherapy. When the world collapses, everything collapses. You might dodge a zombie bite, but then die from a scratch on your leg from where you brushed against a rusty nail to make that dodge happen. Type 1 diabetes. I was diagnosed at 10 and really got into zombies as a kid. I was pretty aware I was fucked if a zombie apocalypse, or anything that shuts down infrastructure really, occurs. Venezuela and Puerto Rico have horror stories of thousands of diabetics dying from lack of access to insulin. What saddens me is that no one outside the diabetic community seems to care. Edit. Since this has gotten some attention, if you're interested in helping at home or abroad, the JDRF can always use funds and support, and the Red Cross and Red Crescent provides excellent care for all people. That zombies are the best possible life form. The one species that is most willing and able to kill them is also their only food source, and their only means of reproduction. Zombies are even worse than vampires, and vampires are not a good species either. Sure, they're strong and durable, but they cannot be anywhere with sunlight. You know, the stuff that covers 50% of the earth at all times? I would imagine that would arise from so much rotting flesh wandering around would be worse than the zombies. Also, every grocery store would become a gigantic mold spore. You're assuming there is still food left in there. Biting is a pretty rare disease, so any outbreak probably wouldn't get far unless it has another vector. It's also pretty if the zombies take a while to die and reanimate, and they consume human flesh. Eventually you'd get a horde big enough that any unlucky person they happen upon gets picked clean before they reanimate. And as the horde approached the size, the new zombies it added would be more and more disabled, as they managed to consume more of them each time before they turned. 28 days later handled this by making them turn way too fast to be entirely consumed and making the zombies not cannibals, just The Walking Dead's addition to never being called zombies are the result of a virus that is transmitted through the air, so the human population is 100% infected. However, it only turns you into a zombie once you die from another cause. But the bite from an infected zombie is nearly 100% fatal from infection. I wonder if a better explanation would be that there are actually two viruses? To add to the comments about what would be different. In the Walking Dead world, when caring for the sick or injured, you would always tie their feet together. My favorite variety is that everyone who dies rises as a zombie. Now everyone in your camp is a potential zombie. Have fun sleeping in the same room as an elderly survivor who's out of heart pills. Or an asthmatic. Or any deadly allergy. Also, this ditches the tired old trope of a survivor hiding a zombie bite and breaching security. The entire world being awful 24/7. Imaging breaking while fighting off zombies. Without my glasses, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference between a zombie and a survivor, unless they're within arm's reach. Forget about sneaking around, I need my fellow survivors to identify themselves so I don't attack them. People would stop my age would be pissed. The question is, the zombies run like in Zombieland or just walk slowly like in The Walking Dead? If they run, people that don't exercise or that in place of goddamn winter, the zombies or infected would be rendered immobile or dead by the cold, freezing the water in their bodies, or that they would be torn apart by wildlife almost immediately in rural areas. Most people assume the survivors hold up in a Walmart or Costco being badass with a crossbow when really, they'll be bitten and infected while on the toilet or pumping gas or some mundane shit. If the zombies Walking Dead, my work will expect me to be available the next day, and just avoid the zombies. The Waffle House must stay open. Everybody tends dental hygiene during an apocalypse. It's something we take for granted today, and something we won't have during an apocalypse. Imagine having zombie apocalypse happens before you can get them taken off, so you're just stuck with ill-fitting braces forever. Edit. I get it, you can take them off yourself, or imagine getting eaten by a zombie with braces. Gasoline has a than most people assume, so after a year nobody would really be driving anywhere. The world governed to launch nuclear strikes on zombie hotspots, killing equal amounts of healthy people. FK now we've got radioactive zombies. I remember playing a browser game where the goal was to nuke the zombie outbreak, while keeping as many uninfected humans alive as possible. It was just a bunch of dots in a grid representing a city, where the green dots were zombies, and would infect the humans by bumping into them. Neat concept. Neat concept. Zombies don't put they are done wow. It's bad enough that they're a zombie, but a rude zombie is too much. Zombies gets pants would fall off, and a bunch of zombie penises would be swinging around. The just because basically the same in every TV show and movie, that in reality they could be a lot different. What if our zombie versions are super fucking fast runners or have some type of smarts like an I Am Legend? How goddamn terrifying. Zombies would decompose where they can't move die in a couple months years. It will be over pretty quickly. I'd finally get as music stops. Elon Musk's flame sales would go through the roof. Toilet paper is eventually too. Anything can be used as toilet paper if you're brave enough. Me. Stares at the The streets would be passable with all the abandoned cars. Mass starvation as the outbreak spreads. Most grocery stores have 3 days of stock, so once the food industry is disrupted, people are left with whatever they have on hand, and once that's gone, it's starve, eat people, eat zombies, or commit suicide. Then the survivors realize that they're the real zombies for eating the zombies. Expect lots of existential. Scientists will really cool plants to defend us. Or so playing Plants vs. Zombies has taught me. Put some sunflowers on your. There will be zombie and zombie deniers. Brexit would regardless and with no end date. Taxes will and Freeman voiceover. But in many ways life went on. Adobe updates continued. There are only 2 things certain. Tampons would be for half the population. Move to Canada. We have millions of them. The zombies will either freeze in the winter or can't swim. Plus we have a lot of guns. Anyone who needs emergency medications to function on a day-to-day basis is KED. Antidepressants, antipsychotics, painkillers, blood thinners, epinephrine, ECT. Well have what's currently produced, but without reliable methods of distribution, what's readily available will go fast. The government would be armies, religious zealots will use it to push their doctrine, and at most it will last 70 years. By then most zombies will have decayed and fallen apart. Shaun of the Dead still has the most ridiculous and realistic zombie movie ending. It would not stay as in the movies. The military and police would quarantine it so fast that others would simply wonder what's going on, and then go about their day. Unless it happens in a third world country. You're not about to blast gunner just because the zombie outbreak is happening. You're not going to become a person who hits their shots every time. This bugs me because I always see in movie and shows that the military falls. You know, the people who literally have the job of shooting, but some lawyer who have never touched a gun, the head shots 5 zombies with 1 shot. The zombies would decay. I mean, they're rotting corpses, brittle bones, severely damaged organ tissue. ECT. Your rifle will need cleaning. Those who have anti-AIDS due to a donated organ would eventually die due to medications not being supplied. So either way they're F. Zombie pee fetish, and go around tying up zombies in order to F them. No need to worry about consent, am I right? New pee videos will be made. Zombie facial, interracial zombie pee, Bukkakon zombie, woman blowing zombie D, BBW zombie. There's going to be people who do this. If necrophilia is a thing, zombiophilia. A lot of people issues would be more disadvantaged than people realize. Take a peanut allergy, for example. In a zombie apocalypse where food is scarce, how can you ensure that what you're eating hasn't come in contact with peanuts? People with gluten allergies would have it even worse. So many zombie apocalypse staples would be inedible to them. People with relevant survival skills would be rare. Since most people have jobs that wouldn't help them at all in a zombie apocalypse, office workers, waitresses, etc., then mechanics, carpenters and farmers would be extremely valuable. Even if they just did it as a hobby. They would be fought over, maybe even enslaved. Tiny pockets may stay together, but the majority of the survivors would have just been hiding alone, and then alone for the rest of their shortened lives. Imagine surviving the zombie outbreak in a small city or rural area, living with that trauma, and then just being alone. In the world for years, never seeing another soul again. The nearest cluster of survivors may be hundreds or thousands of miles away. Maybe whole countries away. The slow, endless madness of isolation would that the zombies, they are corpses. You could take a baseball bat, hit their lower jaw, and poof, no more bites. They are decaying, they will fall apart or take damage easily. You Kairos survive with a broomstick. If it's an infection that turns humans into zombies, just fine.